want to be cautious about is that you don't get the shoulder too flat. If you do that, get it too flat too early on, it want to drop on you. There's also another way to kind of help with that, and that is throwing a little bit thicker. I used to try and throw as thin as possible. I have since abandoned that because I'd much rather trim it down as long as I have the right shape versus trying to throw it paper thin and then being like, well, that's not looking very well, it's not working quite right.
So form trumps shape. I mean, form trumps weight.
Yes. And I think it actually came, I was working on big storage jars for my thesis work at WVU. And I made the big jars, and they probably weighed about 45, 50 pounds for 3.5 foot jar. But in a wood kiln, because I would hold it at a certain temperature for 10 hours or so, I would run into the problems with the clay just getting too hot and melting too much and kind of slumping and moving. And so I had to throw in thicker for the wood kiln, and so I just haven't ever really gone back to throwing them thinner. Just don't find the need for it. And I do trim a lot off these things. But again, when you have a shape that has kind of as much of a belly as something like this, or as kind of a shoulder, a shallow shoulder, it just helps with trimming it down a little bit later, and then you don't have to worry about it collapsing quite so much. So essentially, that one is done.
Now, do you have stuff in your gallery in Morgantown?
I do, and it's mostly along the lines of kind of the green cup. I still make a few every now and again of the more the inlay stuff, but I don't do it too terribly much unless I'm doing shows. It's just one of those things that takes too much time, and Morgantown's not the most art-friendly places in the world, so it's a little tricky to sell pots down in Morgantown. So location does make a big difference. So again, it's pretty heavy. I mean, if you felt that, it's probably 8-10 pounds. Nervous? Yeah. Alright. So for the lids on these things, I always make my lids bigger than what I want. And the reason why is I always trim my lids down so they fit nice and snug. If I try and make them perfect, more times than not, they're off. And so you always run into the problem that it'll have some wiggle or it won't fit later. And so rather than trying to do that, I try to get my lid within about a quarter of an inch, and then just throw the flange a little bit thicker and then trim it down. It's so much easier than trying to make it fit every time. The other thing, do you have a ruler by chance?
I don't know. Pardon me? Oh yeah, we have calipers.
Oh, word. I usually use a ruler just because I can get back